forgot the future.
What people see at any time, what their attention is focused upon, is always the rearview mirror, never the present image or the present fact. The future of the future is the present, and this is something that people are terrified of.
Okay, so I'm thinking about the idea of optimization, right? And how it is not necessarily adaptive. So these are the terms I'm thinking about it in. So we have this reactive loop here, where we're strolling along and some contingent event comes up that just really eats our lunch. And we have to move a lot of resources to counter this contingent event. Meanwhile, the event's over and time moves on, but we're still focusing on shoring up our defenses against contingency X. Meanwhile, what's coming down the pike is a different contingency. And another one. Now this kind of implies a neat progression or linearity or procession, if you will, of these contingent events. But we can't, they're contingent. We can't predict them. So by focusing backwards, this is, we're doing what we can with what we know, and all we know is the past. But that doesn't help us in the future if we're faced with different contingent events. So I think this is kind of the trap that shows up in David Woods's talk about graceful extensibility and this sort of boundary, the brittleness that kind of moves around and stuff, and the failure to develop that graceful extensibility is, I would say, probably like this is a big factor in it, focusing on the past and doing that. So over here, I'm looking at a couple premises. One, regularity is normal. Contingent events are aberrant. And so therefore, when some contingent event pops up, it catches us by surprise and eats our lunch because we're totally surprised by it. We shouldn't be surprised by it. We should have this stance. Regularity is aberrant. Contingency is normal. Now, this doesn't make any sense if we, look at the movements of celestial bodies and stuff. They appear to be very irregular. It seems regularity is natural, normal, the seasons, the days, There's a regularity to it. But when it comes to human activity, human enterprise and coordination and everything, this is a different situation. Non-entropic processes are miraculous, right? Aberrant in a universe that tends towards entropy. And so thinking about that, it kind of led me to think about how certain practices like gratitude are enhancing. Why? Because it's an envelope which contains this premise that, hey, if something works, man, that's a miracle. And we should be grateful for it because it's an exception to the rule. So in this way, this can help us to minimize surprisal, minimize this sort of blindness to the future. It's not about being able to predict why. It's about being in an optimal position to confront why when it shows up. One more short addendum. Thinking about surprisal, I think something happens like sort of an infinite regress, a fatal error loop, right? So when we have this belief and we're confronted with a contingent event, we're surprised by it, and not only that, but we're surprised by our surprise. And our surprise at our surprise surprises us, and so on and so forth. And so if we have a prior built in that accounts for surprisal, hey, surprisal is going to happen, contingent things will happen, then that can enhance fittedness.